Well, hey guys, welcome to the Sips Podcast YouTube channel. I'm the host, Trey Miller of Sips Podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in. And I want to talk just for a few minutes about the matchup that we've got coming up, the national championship game across college football. And of course, we know that we're seeing a rematch of the SEC championship. We're seeing Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide versus the Georgia Bulldogs. This is part two of this season's, of course, matchup between these two teams. And I want to look first, let's look at Alabama's offense. Obviously, we know what Alabama has on offense. We know how dynamic they are. Obviously, they've got Brian Robinson at running back, who had a lot of success in the semifinal game against Cincinnati. He rushed for over 200 yards. Cincinnati could not do very much with Brian Robinson. He was banged up in the SEC championship game, so I look for him to be more productive and them try to get more production out of him than what they previously had when they faced Georgia. Obviously, if you look at the wideouts, you look at Jamison Williams, and then, of course, you look at those other complementary pieces that Alabama has or that Bryce Young has at his disposal. Remember that they are without John Mechie. So John Mechie will not play in the national championship game, which is actually huge because if you look back at the SEC championship game, he had, I think, 97 receiving yards and then a touchdown and just on like 6 targets or so, and that was all in one half. So if you think about the production and the matchup that he creates for defenses and the problems that he creates for defenses when they have to watch him and Jamison Williams on the other side of the field, you can see why Alabama has a lot of success and why they have an easy time scoring points. And, of course, Bryce Young, you look at him, and he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Obviously, he is so accurate with the football. He can throw the ball. He's very confident in his ability to distribute the football to his playmakers. And he also is athletic. We don't talk about Bryce Young's legs a whole lot, but he can also extend plays and extend drives. He normally doesn't have to because, obviously, Jamison Williams and John Mechie and the rest of that team is open a lot of times. So Bryce Young doesn't have to run too often, but when he does, he can. And, of course, he can succeed at that, and he has shown the ability to do so. He had a rushing touchdown in the SEC championship game, if you recall. He had one or more in that game. So I believe Alabama's offense obviously is dynamic, but they're not as dynamic because they'll be without John Mechie. Now, Georgia's defense, how will Georgia's defense stack up against Alabama this second time around? Georgia, I believe they are getting hopefully they will be a little healthier. They were fairly healthy in the SEC championship game, but hopefully they'll be a little healthier. I think they're getting maybe 1 or 2 pieces sprinkled in there, maybe back that they didn't use as much in the SEC championship game over in that secondary, like at safety and so forth. So hopefully they will be able to piece together a defense that can somewhat stifle Jamison Williams and limit some of those other pieces as well that Bryce Young will have to throw to. I think a key thing for Georgia is this. You have to find a way to get pressure on Bryce Young. If you look back at the SEC championship, Georgia didn't do that. They didn't pressure Bryce Young very much. Jordan Davis and that defensive line, they didn't get much pressure on Bryce Young. He had tons of time to throw the football. You can't do that. You cannot give Bryce Young all day to throw the football. It's like giving Tom Brady all day to throw the football. They're going to find the matchup. He is a very talented quarterback. He's very accurate with the football, and so you've got to put pressure on him. Statistics show that when Bryce Young is hurried or when you blitz him, his numbers are lower. His passing yards are lower. He's subject to make mistakes when you hurry and blitz him, and most quarterbacks are. So Georgia has to find a way to put some blitz packages together, some defensive schemes together to keep Bryce Young uncomfortable. And they also have to, again, account for the running ability of Bryce Young. He can run the ball if he needs to. So Georgia's got to do that. Offensively, Georgia, they've got Stetson Bennett. Of course, they've got Cook at running back and then Mitchell at wide receiver and some of those playmakers. They got Brock Bowers at tight end, who's a great talent and can create some matchup problems for most defenses that he faces. He had some success in the championship game, in the SEC championship game against Alabama. So they don't really have someone who I don't believe can shut him down. But that offensive line for Georgia has to protect Stetson Bennett. You've got to keep him upright, and you've got to obviously give him time to distribute the football. And Stetson Bennett, I liked what Stetson Bennett did against Michigan. If you look back at the semifinal game, there were several plays, several key drives where Stetson Bennett used his ability, his athletic ability to extend some plays, even to run for, I think, record some first downs and so forth. He has the ability to do that, but he's going to have to do that against Alabama. Georgia's offense, their offensive line will have to find a way to kind of keep Stetson Bennett away from Will Anderson, or keep Will Anderson away from Stetson Bennett. We know how dynamic Will Anderson is for Alabama. He is a monster. He is a playmaker. So can Georgia's offense obviously limit Will Anderson's access to Stetson Bennett and keep him from creating some disruption back there in the backfield? So if Georgia can do that, I think they can have some success. It's not going to be an easy task, no matter how you size it up. We're talking about Alabama here, and they have earned the right year in and year out. With their consistency, they have earned the right to be taken extremely seriously and never counted out at this point. So, and their head coach, obviously, is the greatest coach in college football history, Nick Saban. So, as far as the prediction goes for this game, my head tells me to pick Alabama. Normally Alabama, it's kind of like going against or picking against Tom Brady. It's just normally it doesn't turn out well for you when you pick against Tom Brady and when you pick against Nick Saban and that Alabama team. However, my heart tells me here that Georgia is, the stars are really aligned for Georgia to find a way to get this victory. I don't believe Georgia will ever have an easier time to get a win over Alabama than right now. Alabama is without John Mechie, and so can Georgia find a way to get the victory against Alabama? And I believe they can. So I'm going to go with my heart on this one. Georgia 24, Alabama 21 in the national championship. And I look forward, guys, to talking to you soon. We'll try to follow up, do a follow-up YouTube video pretty soon after the national championship to discuss maybe some of the results. So hope you guys enjoy that, and we will talk, guys, soon right back here on Sips Podcast YouTube channel. Bye-bye.